Hello everybody. This is a most auspicious day here at the Treeleaf, and I'm going to explain why. We've had a team of 4 of our priests last night. Shoka, as you see up there, Shinshi, who is off somewhere, Sekishi, who's around somewhere, and of course Shingen, who have worked through the night to make a big transition for us. Last night, after about, I don't know, 8, 9 years of service, YouTube Hangouts is no more. It has gone to the great app store in the sky. Let us bow. Thank you, YouTube. We're still on YouTube, but now by way of Zoom. Now, why is this a great thing? For a couple of reasons. Number one is I think the picture quality is wonderful. I can see every hair in Stuart's legs from across the world. It's going up into space, right up to a satellite, around the world, and here. Amazing. And Yakshim, how you doing? The other reason is we used to have a capacity of 10 people to sit two-way live with us. How about now? How many do you think? Take a guess. 100 people could now join us two-way live if they wish. The day that we get 100 people here is probably, well, it's not going to be anytime soon, I don't think, but we have the capacity to have 100 people sitting with us today, and it is a most auspicious day. We also want to thank Stuart for coming over at 5:30 this morning from the neighboring prefecture of Saitama. Stuart's become a buddy on the Soto Zen Facebook group. And we've invited those people. Maybe a couple of folks from there will join us today. If you see some strange faces dropping in, that is who will be here. Doyu is here. Some other folks I can't see. You know, the other capacity we have, we can go to the Hollywood Squares version here. Hi, Sekshi. Good year. There we are. Doyu, good to see you. Hopefully we're going to get, now how do I go back? Speaker view. There we are. Okay, I'm figuring this out even as we go along. Well, otherwise, it's just a typical day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Would you be mine? I'm really psyched to see the Mr. Rogers movie, if you don't know what that is. Maybe our Australian friends, they don't know Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers is an American saint, I'm just saying. He is a bodhisattva, Mr. Rogers. He was a children's host in the States. Lovely man. In any event, we are here today. It is hot as blazes, and I am dressed like a 12th century Northern Chinese Mandarin. It is completely the wrong clothes. I should be dressed like one of those South Asian priests today with the, you know, the bare shoulders, much more suited to the weather, but I will do as I can. We have had people pass out here in the Zendo once in a while. Please try not to, but the management takes no liability for that. In any case, if you've been here before, you know what to do. I'm glad that we have the technical people, because with this new system, I have no idea what to do. But if it's your first time, just follow along. Okay? Let's go. Just basically bow at the beginning of things. Waiting to hear.
마카하냐라니다 신교 간지사이보사츠교진한야하라미자 지쇼 겐고 엄가이 구도 익사이 구야쿠샤리 시시기 후이 구구후이 시기시기 소구세 구구 소구세 시기 주소교 시기야구 뇨세 샤리 시세쇼 구소 구조 부겐데 주소교 시기무겐니 미세신니 무시기소 무겐가이냐시무 이시기가이무무묘야구무무묘진나이시무로 지야쿠무소로시진무구슈메츠도 무지야쿠무도쿠이 무쇼도고보다이 사타에 한야하라미다 만산세쇼 우츠이 한야하라미다고 루쿠아노쿠다사 산여쿠산 보다이 고지 한야하라미다 세다이 닌슈 세다이 묘슈 세무요슈 세무두도쇼 노조 이사이 구신짓수고 오세츠 한야하라미다 슈소쿠세츠 슈와츠 갸테 갸테 하라 갸테 하라소 갸테 무지소아카 한야신교
Sekishi, would you check your microphone? You're a little hard to hear.
The identity of relative and absolute. The mind of the great sage of India is intimately conveyed west and east, while human faculties are both wise or dull. In the way there are no so northern or southern ancestors. The subtle source shines clear in the light, the branching streams flow in the dark. To be attached to things is primordial illusion. To encounter the absolute is not yet enlightenment. All spheres, every sense and field, intermingle even as they shine alone, interacting even as they merge, yet keeping their places and expressions of their own. Sights differ primarily in shape and character, and sounds in harsh or soothing tones. The dark make all words one. The brightness distinguishes good and bad phrases. The four elements return to their true nature as a child turns to its mother. Fire is hot, water is wet, wind moves and the earth is dense. Eye and ear form ear and sound, nose and smell, tongue and taste, the sweet and sour, each independent of the other, like leaves that come from the same root. And the leaves and root must go back to the source. Both root and leaves have their own uses. Light is also darkness, but do not think of it as darkness. Darkness is light. Do not see it as light. Light and darkness are not one, not two, like the foot before and the foot behind in walking. Each thing has its own being, which is not different from its place and function. The relative fits the absolute as a box in its lid. The absolute meets the relative like two arrow points that touch in midair. Hearing this, simply perceive what is. Make no criterion. If you do not see the way, you do not see it even as you walk upon it. Walking forward in the way, you draw no nearer, progress no farther. One who fails to see this truth is mountains and rivers away. Listen, those who would perceive this subtle matter. Live well your time by night and day. Buddha nature pervades the whole universe, reality existing right here now. In reciting the heart of the perfection of Great Wisdom Sutra, we dedicate our sincere efforts to Shakyamuni Buddha, honored one, the historical Buddha and teacher, and to those ancestral teachers, Heihei Dogen, honored one, Soji Keizan, honored one, all successive honored ones up until Zuigaku Rempo, honored one, and Gudo Wafu, honored one, and to all other honored ones throughout history, male and female honored ones whose names have been forgotten or left unsaid. We also dedicate these efforts to the three treasures, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, to all awakened ones and teachers in all places and times. We especially seek tranquility and well-being for all creatures now suffering or ill in health. May they be serene through all their ills. May their lives be at peace and wisdom pervade the darkness of ignorance. We dedicate our hopes and aspirations to all victims of war and violence and natural events, to the injured and to all families touched by these tragedies, to the healing of hatred in all countries and among all people, to the wisdom and compassion of our world leaders, to the peace of the world and harmony of all beings. Thus let the harmful effects of words, thoughts, and actions be dispelled, and compassion bloom in perpetual spring. May we all realize and live the enlightened way together. All Buddhas throughout space and time. All Bodhisattvas, Mahasattvas, Maha, Prajna, Paramita.
There's been a lot of violence in the world, not only in the United States, many places. Last few days, we dedicate especially to the victims of anger and violence, divided thinking. Also, we've had several Sangha members who have been one thing or another, pieces fallen off and in and out of the hospital. We dedicate specifically to them as well. One bit of hopeful Did you see the fellow from France yesterday who took a hoverboard and crossed the English Channel? I posted the video at Treeleaf. Check it out. There is hope, you know, if you can hoverboard through the sky across the Straits of Gibraltar. Right? We dedicate, I just want to say a little special something for him too. He gave me hope. All right, let's sit. Zazen. Actually, you're the teacher today, so make sure everyone gets seated, okay? Tell them what to do.
So, you can see which one you take in which one you take in and once you take
Quickly.
what do you want to do?
Next to me.
You have to walk in this direction.
Yes, always that direction. With your hands in shashu.
Okay. And then like this.
Always turn clockwise.
Okay. Okay. Again. Turning top. Wonderful.
And there are two ways to get on. One way is to put the white point facing that way. Wow. Clockwise. Why always clockwise? It's an auspicious direction, basically. And then I said, trying not to touch your private parts here because that's where the motif. I know it's tricky. We won't look too closely. Okay. And then, it's okay. We're not looking. And spin around. Very good. You get extra points for straight slippers, by the way, in the Zen temple. Straight slippers, straight mind. All right. Very good. Don't be scared. We have a back who wants to come in. He's fine. I'm going to close the door a little bit. Oops. Can him? Very gingerly. What cashew? What you gonna do? Uniformity is important. It's a dance. Now, it's just a big dance. I'm going to open the door. We actually have a bat who wanted to come in, but they're harmless. But they live all in this area. Once a year or so, the bat comes to visit us, but don't let it bother you. He's the tallest guy. Don't worry for his head. He's a burrow. So with your hands like this. You need the rest. We also have cold drinks. Very important. Okay. Don't go with it. Say again. Oh yeah, yeah, please. Mine. Just call. I think it's okay. You know where the bathroom is. Zazen? will have a long pinyin. We will now have a little talk followed by Zazen. There's going to be a talk now, so you can sit over here, have some tea. You can sit Zazen while I'm speaking. You can take a nap while I'm speaking, which is my recommendation. You can leave, come back later, or just sit here, sit there, anywhere you want. But it's the talks that I have. Because once I get started, it takes a half hour no matter what I'm saying. Usually across in the back, just to be respectful. Here the poems. Okay. So far, it looks like all systems go with our new Zoom. This is wonderful. A couple of weeks ago, we had a snake here, grass snake in the Zen. Not a poisonous snake, very friendly, but big, not that big. And today we had a bat, tried to come in. Bats in China, you know, and snake, auspicious. They're good luck signs. You know, as long as they don't land on your head. Really, help yourself. Daniela made those cups, by the way. Daniela is climbing Mount Fuji this weekend. I have to write and see if she made it. I'm sure she did. It's probably very hot at the bottom and very cold at the top. Okay. Gotta get my mic. Can you guys hear and see me okay? Very good. Would the Honorable Eno please recite the words?
The Dharma, incomparably profound and infinitely subtle, is always encountered yet rarely perceived. Now we see, hear, receive, and maintain this. May we all realize the Tathagata's true meaning. The Dharma, incomparably profound and infinitely subtle, is always encountered yet rarely perceived. Now we see, hear, receive, and maintain this. May we all realize the Tathagata's true meaning. The Dharma, incomparably profound and infinitely subtle, is always encountered yet rarely perceived. Now we see, hear, receive, and maintain this. May we all realize the Tathagata's true meaning.
All right, we're going to be looking at some koans from the Book of Serenity. Some folks think that the Soto people don't appreciate the koans, but as I often say, Master Dogen's writing such a Shobo Genzo, or wall-to-wall koans that he was dancing with. And the Book of Serenity that we're looking at has been cherished in the Soto world for centuries. Master Dogen often quoted these koans. And, you know, sometimes I think that, by the way, I want to thank Shishin Wick, the wonderful commentary we've been looking at for several weeks in our No Words book club. I recommend his book, really how to approach the koans to make them valuable in life. But you know, sometimes people think you're supposed to look at one word at a koan in Zazen, forget the rest of the koan. Just throw yourself into that. And that's one way. And some people say the koans don't mean anything. You know, it's supposed to be whatever you feel they mean. And usually when I find teachers who say that, they're teachers who really don't have a good handle on the koans, if I may say. Because the koans are something like rap music, you know. If you listen to good rap music, you know, to me, I don't appreciate rap music. It sounds like, you know, every song sounds the same to me. But if you really listen, the guy's usually trying to make a point. And he's doing it with a joke. He's doing it with some slang. He's doing it with some relevant, language of the culture. Well, that's what the koans actually are. Except we're dealing with the slang and the jokes from 1,000 years ago in ancient Chinese. So sometimes the jokes and the slang is a little hard to get. That makes them very mysterious. And some people think that you're supposed to look at one koan at a time, but that's not necessarily true too. Sometimes if you put things together, they kind of put the light on each other. And the editors 1,000 years ago of the Book of Serenity, they put these koans side by side for a reason. I don't know if it's the same reason we're going to find in them, but I tell you, these koans are about your ugly childhood, getting sick, birth, and death. Man, this is about life. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through these koans and also bring a little of Master Dogen's Genjo koan in our No Words book club. We started looking at the Genjo koan. And you're going to see that Master Dogen's words seem to resonate with these koans. It wasn't hard to find the matching pieces here. So let me try. First one is Gensha comes to the province, like you came from the next province. Attention, Master Gensha arrived at Ibaraki province and was received with many kinds of entertainment, sir, like you today. The next day he asked Venerable Jundo, where did all of yesterday's festivities go? Jundo replied by lifting, I'm doing that for you who are listening on the podcast, lifting a corner of his robe. I'll show you underneath what I got. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm like a Scotsman. Don't ask what I have under this. There's no relation between them at all. Now, this is one of the koans that actually can be interpreted many ways, but I'm going to give you a take on this. You had a lousy childhood, or you had a wonderful day yesterday, and it's gone. It's the past, but yet it is here, so intimate. We Zen folks, we have such a fluid way to look at time, or I should say times. Usually we think the past goes to the present, to the future, but for Zen folks, the future flows into the past, and it's all right in this moment. But also we can say two beautiful ways to look at time. The past is gone, and the past is right here, most intimate. It can be that happy time you had with your mother years ago, and she's gone from this world. She's right here. It can be that ugly childhood you had. Mine was a little rough sometimes. It's gone. It's right here. Why look at it only one way, I counsel people who sometimes they come to me and they've had like child abuse, and I say, in Zen, we let it go and we respect it's here. You can do in Zen more than one way at once. That's the brilliance of a lot of these ways of approaching the koans. You can forgive and not forgive. You can say, it's gone, yet recognize it's here. The past, the happy time, gone, yet here. Like that helicopter that's passing overhead. We have the helicopters from the military base passing a lot today. So Master Dogen, his words in Genja Koan is about these crazy ways of looking at time. He says, firewood becomes ash. It can never go back to being firewood. Nevertheless, we should not take the view that ash is its future and firewood is its past. We should recognize that firewood occupies its place in the universe, its time as firewood, and it has its own past and future. And ash exists in its place in the universe as ash, and it has its moment and future moments. And so it is for all the moments, the happy moment, the sad moment, the moment you're alive, the moment you're dead, are just the moment, right? So now, this has to do a lot with the relative and absolute, which I talk about here. We live in a world of separate things and separate moments, but then there's a way to sweep away all the separation and all the separate moments. And that's the trick to looking at these things, saying the past, we toss it into emptiness, but it's here. So we have the appreciatory verse, and you see a lot of poetic language like this. It says, hiding the boat in the darkened valley. That's the thing that disappears into the dark of emptiness. Thrusting the pole, the thing, the moment, into the clear source, like the famous story of Nagarjuna took a needle and he threw it in the water and the needle vanished. The thing vanishes into the clarity of emptiness. But yet, how we make our lives makes all the difference in the world, you know. And thus, you make the moments too. So the appreciatory verse says, dragons and fish don't know yet that the water makes their lives. Dragons are also water creatures. How you swim, you know, determines the moment more than you know. And what did Master Dogen say? When fish swim in water, though they keep swimming, there's no end to the water, like throw the needle into emptiness. But yet that fish swimming through in the emptiness, but how it swims makes all the difference in the world. When birds fly in the sky, though they keep flying, there's no end to the sky. Okay? That's some of the ways we look at time. But not only time, how about the sounds and colors of things? All the separate things of the world are objects and sounds and colors and tastes and things that we find bitter and things we find sweet and things that we love and things we find we hate and things we have no particular feeling about and things we find scary, like being sick, right? How do we approach those? Umon, sounds and shapes. When sounds and shapes are not let go, the state is known as being conditioned by the environment. In other words, you're a victim of stuff because all the judgments, the likes, the dislikes, you're conditioned by your environment. If you are seeking by sound and seeing by shape, you will never experience the Buddha of this very moment. Aren't you pursuing a way to return home? If you're also looking for Buddha or enlightenment as a thing, where is it? You're kind of a victim. What's beyond the things? What's beyond the shapes? What's beyond the likes and dislikes? That's what this koan says. So, main case, attention. Master Umon addressed the assembly saying, hearing a sound, realize the way. Seeing a shape, enlighten the mind. The goddess of compassionate wisdom brought a common farm rice cake, but released from her hands like this, releasing the thoughts, you know. The common rice cake transformed into a sumptuous bean jam cake, which I guess in old China, that was a, you know, that was a real treat. So, you know, in this world, we can't escape the separate things, the sickness, the health, the helicopters making their noise. So we can either try to make them as we want, or let them be, toss them into emptiness, and find the silence in that noisy helicopter, the peace in the war and the peace, the stillness in being sick or being healthy, the something that just is there beyond life and death, right? If you try to force life, all the things to be as you want, that's ignorance in Buddhist lingo, Buddhist terms. But if you let the things as they are, be as they are, and you hear the peace, hear the silence in the greatest noise, in the greatest care. Even my talk right now, which you may not dig so much, but if you can hear something beyond the words, right? You're free. Master Dogen said this in the Genjo Koan. To carry the self forward and illuminate myriad things is delusion. In other words, try to impose yourself on things. Try to find enlightenment on things by forcing them. I want to find enlightenment is delusion. but letting the myriad things just come forth as they are, and letting the myriad things just illuminate you is awakening. Okay? So remember this next time you get sick or something you don't like happens. Let it come. Let it be what it is. Drop it like that needle of Nagarjuna into the water. Don't try to force yourself on life. Don't try to force life to be what you want. Just let it go. Okay? Especially when you're sick. Case number 83. Dogo's nursing. Isan asked Dogo, "Hey Dogo, where have you been?" Dogo said, "I've been nursing." It's a little ambiguous here whether he was nursing himself because he was sick or he was nursing someone else in the monastery because they were sick. But does that matter? You know, that's a Zen thing. Does it matter? So it's ambiguous. I've been nursing. Maybe he was nursing a baby. You know, nursing. I don't think so. Even Zen people, we can't go that far. Well, I could if I had the bottle. When my kids were babies, I nursed. How many people were sick? Dogo replied, "Some are sick. Some are not." Is he only talking about bodily sickness, or is he talking about the sickness of trying to force life to be on your terms? Isn't that the real sickness? When I was sick in the hospital, I had cancer a couple of years ago, you know. I experimented with this lying in the bed. 1 minute, I hate this. I'm scared. I want to get out. My kids, my family. Why is life doing this to me? I'm only 50 years old. At the next moment, you know, it's all right. Yeah. What happens, happens. My kids will be okay. For a while, I experimented going back and forth like a switch. Imposed myself on life. I'm scared. Total peace. I don't want to die. I wasn't that much at risk. The doctors told me I had a good chance. I don't want to exaggerate how sick I was. You know, but I had big surgery, man. I got a scar from here to here. But I wasn't probably going to die. But I'm still scared of dying. And I lied there and I said, I'm scared. No death. Disease, my enemy. No enemy. I went back and forth. Maybe this koan is about something like that. Doga replied, some are sick, some are not. Isan pursued, isn't it you who's not sick? Doga responded, sickness and non-sickness have nothing at all to do with it. Speak quickly, speak quickly. Isan remarked, even being able to say it misses entirely. Yeah, you can't say it. But there's something beyond existing or not existing. There's something beyond in our way. Of course we're sick. Of course we don't like it. Of course we're healthy. Of course we like it. Of course we're living. Of course we die. Of course we win. Of course we lose. But there's something in our practice that we can taste that is right in the heart of and transcends sickness and health and up and down and me and you and the things I love and the things I hate and even birth and death. There's something. And thus the appreciatory verse. Seeming to exist, but he's not anything. Being utterly empty, he's not something. Unextinguished, he's born. Undestroyed, he lives eternally. Notice it doesn't say, not dying, he's born. It means beyond being extinguished or non-extinguished. Beyond being born or not being born. Beyond death or not dying. There's something that is this unextinguished, this undestroyed. We don't say eternal, we really shouldn't say that in Buddhism, but it's not destroyed. So in this unextinguished, he's born. In this undestroyed, he lives eternally. He even goes utterly before the ancient Buddhas and walks alone among the empty kalpas. You know, I'm writing a book now about seeing yourself as the whole of space. Even when you die, the universe goes on. You know, we can do this. There's a wonderful science series that's on now with Will Smith. I recommend it if you get to see this. In which there was an episode yesterday, man, where he says, look, man, it's about death and you're going to die. But do you realize you're this whole world, the entire ecosystem, your atoms, are, you know, the whole thing? It's so beautiful. It's true. You have existed in a sense, even your hairy legs, from before the first Buddha, before the, you know, the Big Bang, or whatever was before the Big Bang. And whatever kalpas are going to come, man, that's who we are. So you don't have to see yourself as just this time-bound, finite being. It doesn't mean that, I'm sorry to tell you, Yakshin, I'm sorry to tell you, that does not mean that you're actually going to necessarily like that. But some aspect of us certainly is not bound by time. So, being quiet, heaven covers, earth supports. The whole earth, like Will Smith said, the whole heavens and earth is supporting our life right now. And somehow we're before the ancient Buddhas, and we're going to go on for kalpas. Kalpas are ages and ages, timeless ages. And Master Dogen wrote in the Genjo Koan, there is life and death. This is the opening line. I've abbreviated it. Then he says in the next line, there is no life and death. Then he says in the next line, there is life and death. This shows that Master Dogen could not make up his mind. No. It's the famous saying, mountains are mountains. Mountains are not mountains. Mountains are mountains again. Which one is right? Yes. There is life and death. Sorry to tell you, we're going to kick the bucket. We're done. You know. There's no life and death. Yay! There's life and death and no life and death, life and death, death, life and death. And that is what I knew in my hospital bed. Though all this may be true, flowers fall even though we love them, and weeds grow even though we hate them, and that is all. I take that line of Master Dogen to mean, even if we transcended man, sometimes it really stinks, it sucks. I cried in that bed too. I said, oh, I'm in total peace. You know, like that. So even if we don't expect to turn into an unemotional robot by piercing this beyond life and death, you know, it's still sad sometimes. Okay. Okay, case 84. Excuse me. For those on the podcast, I just held up the finger. I have to give a commentary. Master Dogen wrote in the Genjo Koan, in the practice enlightenment of the Buddha way, to attain one thing is to penetrate one thing. To meet one practice is to sustain one practice. This one finger is our Zazen. We sometimes say, I'm doing something because I want something else. I'm doing this because this is not good and I need to get something else. I'm going to drink now because I'm thirsty. In Zazen, like the finger, we hold it up or we sit because there is nothing else. There's nothing lacking, nothing to add. We don't taste that in life, you know. So in the one practice of the Buddha way, to meet one practice is to sustain one practice, and is to meet all things, all time and space, and all beyond birth and death in this one practice. But don't just listen to my crazy words. The next part of this koan, you may know the story is. It says a boy came up and was mimicking Gute, so Gute cut his finger, but the scholars think he just gave it a twist. In other words, if I go like this, what's the meaning of Zen? And you go, I'm going to ask you, what's the meaning of Zen, Yapsin? Show me. No, don't just copy me, you fool. Find out for yourself. You see, that's the meaning of it. So you're listening to my BS here, but I'm telling you, oh, there's something beyond birth and death. Yeah, that's a beautiful idea. Sit Zazen, find out for yourself. Okay, that's why we practice. And so we've covered what? We've covered sickness and health, and Now we're going to go up to life and death tune a little more. The national teacher's seamless tune. Gee, I'm setting a new koan per minute time record here. I'm way ahead of schedule here. All right. Attention. Emperor Shikuso asked national teacher Chu, "Hey Chu, how are you, Chu? 100 years after you die, what would you wish?" The national teacher said, "Build me a seamless tomb," which of course is impossible. It's just a tomb of stone, right? The emperor replied, "I beg you, what style of tomb would that be? What's a seamless tomb?" The national teacher remained silent for a while and then asked, "Do you understand?" Let me repeat. Do you understand? The emperor said, "I don't understand." Sometimes when we say "I don't understand" in Zen, that's actually a good thing because it means there's no I to understand. And that's how come I really understand, because I get rid of I. You know, Bodhidharma said to the Emperor Emperor Wu said, "Who are you?" And Bodhidharma said, "I don't know," or just in Chinese, "Bujida," don't know. Because when we get rid of the I and we get rid of some object to know, I know some object, that's Zen knowing, you see. So, of course, Bodhidharma knew who he was, beyond I and something to know. But this guy, no, he just doesn't know. This just, I think, just means, no, I have no idea. What are you talking about, Chu? So Chu said, "Okay, I have a Dharma disciple by the name of Tangen who knows all about it. Please ask him and leave me alone." Later on, the emperor requested the meaning of it from Tangen, who replied, "From the southern border to the northern border," that means every place, right? "Yellow gold within fills the whole country. A ferry boat under the shadowless tree." Isn't that what we saw in koan number 1? That boat in the tree again. That's the things in emptiness in our world of every place, right? And then we have, what was the next line up in the first one? "Thrusting the pole in the clear source" is very similar to, "In the crystal palace, a building made of glass, you know, there's no one who knows." There it is. That's Bodhidharma's. There's no I who knows. There's no one who knows. And this is, you're in a building of a thing, but it's, the windows are clear. There's no I. You just blend into everything, right? Something like that. That's your seamless tomb beyond life and death. You know, if you go out, actually there's a cemetery back here for the Shingon temple that's right next door. And they have the priest graves. The priest graves in Japan are a little different from ordinary graves. You might have seen them. They look a little like a baseball bat shape, kind of stubby. It's supposed to be a round, seamless, round shape, you see, because it's empty. They're not in the grave. They're not live. They're not in the grave. Of course, they're in the grave, but they're not in the grave. This is a seamless tomb. We've had some people this week who had some health emergencies where this is no joke either. Please find this place of peace. The appreciatory verse. "Alone, boundlessly, wholly, perfectly, perfectly. The 8 principles correctly positioned, the 5 elements energized, energy harmonized." In the old days, this means, this is how, you know, it's the yin and yang and their idea of physics and chemistry. In other words, what he's saying is, the world is just working the way the world is supposed to be working, man. Gravity makes things fall. Electricity makes the lights come on. Something like that. So you could read it, "Alone, boundlessly, boundlessly. The world is whole, perfectly, perfectly. The principles of electromagnetism are correctly positioned. The periodic table energies are perfectly harmonized, something like that. For our science crowd here, we're in Scuba Science City. We have to bring this into science talk here. The body, that's you, from the first, is within this. Do you see? And Master Dogen wrote in the Genjo Koan that, again, it's how we live. We're in this perfect world, but you can mess it up, man. If you get filled with anger and ignorance and divided thinking, you can turn this beautiful paradise into a hell. Or you can turn a hell into paradise. Or you can take this world that's sometimes kind of painful and flowers fall and just find the equanimity. But it's up to you. So, Master Dogen wrote, because the nature of air is to be ever present, the behavior of Buddhists makes the earth manifest itself as gold. There was another gold reference in here somewhere, but I forget where it was. It's okay. In any event, see, you put those koans, they actually have something to say. They're not like just irrational statements, man, that you're just supposed to take the koan. It doesn't mean anything. No, these things mean. They mean. Boy, do they mean. Okay, hey, we got our new fangled, high-tech Zoom system that we're paying $15 a month for here. So we got to make use of this. I need questions here. Who's going to be first? Need a question, and questions from the room here. Somebody raise their hand, volunteer. I'm talking to my priests. I'm volunteering you. Oh, Sekishi, how nice of you to volunteer. You have a question?
Hi, Jendo. Thank you for your talk today. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about Dogen's view, particularly on the part about firewood does not become ash. Ash has its own present and future, and firewood has its own present and future. And how that relates to his concept of uji. Am I pronouncing that properly? The UJI, time being?
Yeah.
I was going to say, you know, my take on that is that for the time being, firewood is completely firewood. For the time being, ash is completely ash. Mm-hmm. And for the time being, all of it.
Yep.
But anyway, I don't know if you have more to say about it.
You got to get my new book coming out from Wisdom Publications next year. There's a whole chapter on Uji in there. You got to pay. You got to pay to hear. No, I'm just kidding. Master Dogen had times, many times. So what you said is exactly right. Every moment is perfect. This is from the Huayan Buddhism too. You know, everything pours into everything. This time, is your being, is a pristine time, which is not my time, which is not the time of the tree, which is having its own time being, and the future time is perfectly the future time, and the past time is the past time, and the future flows into the past, and the past flows into the future, like the top of the mountain flows into the bottom of the mountain, and the bottom of the mountain flows into the middle and the bottom of the mountain. And the river flows into the top of the river, which actually flows into the bottom of the river, even though it's all going in one direction. Which is the right way to see time? Oh, and also, there's the timeless beyond time, right? Our clock actually went out today because of the heat. I had to readjust it. I was thinking about this. So we're actually on perfectly 2 hours behind our clock for some miracle. It stopped, and then it started again exactly 2 hours later. So that was that time. Which is the right one? Yes. Yes. Yeah. But I love to tell the funny story. When I was training one time as a lay person at Sojiji, head monastery here, I had just come to Japan, and my English My Japanese was non-existent, basically. And Azuma Roshi, wonderful man, my first real Japanese Zen master, you know. He was leading, and his English was very broken. So I thought I'm going to ask him all the big questions. So I went up to him and I said, Roshi, I was reading Master Dogen Zuji. I said, Roshi, what is time? And he looked at his watch and he said, time, 5:30. And I thought, he's making a point. It's right now. No, he thought I was asking what time it was. Anyway, so all is correct. All is correct. Okay. Find all these times, including the time when the hornet just that. Please have your own being time outside, Mr. Hornet. There you go. Okay, another question. Live question from here. Come on, you drove all this way from Saitama. Another question from home. I can't see everybody because we only get some of the screens, you know, at the top now. So I can't see everyone who's here, but I do see Shingen. Shingen,
Yep.
please.
Okay, thank you, Jindo. Lovely talk. I was actually just going to follow along with Sekishi's comment about the firewood and the ash. And I'm wondering, if you'll correct me if I'm wrong here, Master Dogen is also talking about where firewood is just firewood, ash is just ash. It exists as that within the universe, but is he also referring to the interconnectedness of all things? That even though firewood is firewood, it's still interconnected to the ash, and the ash interconnected to the firewood and so forth.
Again, yes, 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 because this moment is just this moment. The next moment is just this moment, but the next moment is fully contained in this moment, and this moment is fully contained in the next moment. The ash is just the ash. The tree is just the tree. Yet the tree fully holds the ash and the whole universe, and you and me. And the ash is just the ash with nothing else. But yet the whole tree and the whole forest and the whole world and all of time and space and you and me is in each piece of ash. Yes, yes, yes. Buddhists, we look at things all these ways. And also, Master, just to mention about rebirth, some people take this passage to mean that Master Dogen did not believe in rebirth. It's very obvious from other things he wrote that he was a traditional Buddhist. He did believe you die and you probably are reborn. If you don't turn into Buddha, you come back again. But he also believed it's not so important for a Zen Buddhist because we can find the Buddha right now too, because it's all right here too. So we can also right now in this life escape it. So even though he believed in rebirth, for the average Zen person, it's not that big a deal because you can realize that literally the Buddha, the whole universe is right here. The ash contains the tree, and the tree contains the forest. Please see the forest for the trees. Okay. Let's see, we got a couple of more minutes to hear. Anybody? I guess, Yashin, here, take the mic. Take the mic. Yes. Please come up, sir.
Hello. I was sweeping in the morning in France. I am
Sweeping.
sweeping.
Yes.
And so is that related with this to need one practice is to sustain one practice?
Yes.
And I was thinking, I was sweeping, then we were sitting, but maybe if we reverse the order, to be also sitting, sweeping.
Yes.
Yes, something like that.
Yes. Yes. Sweeping is also zazen, but there's something special about sitting, so we don't just sweep. But if we just sit all day and don't sweep, the house is a mess, which my wife reminds me all the time. She says, why are you out there sitting? You should be in here sweeping. But that's another story. Every sweep, when we sweep as samu, work practice, of course, usually we sweep, we want to clean. There's a beginning of sweeping when the house is dirty. There's an end when the house is clean. There's dirty and clean. when you sweep in the Zen way, each sweep has no before or after. And also, even though we want to get from dirty to clean, we drop all thought of clean and dirty. Both at once. It's the same sweeping. But when you do it as just house cleaning, it's a job and you got to get it finished. And there's a beginning and an end, and there's dirty and there's clean. But when you do it as Zen practice, it's the same sweeping, but each sweep is the whole universe. Each sweep is the only sweep in all time. It sweeps in all time. And there's something beyond clean and dirty. So that is our Samu practice. So why don't we only do that? Because working is working, but there's something special about sitting. But when we sit, even though I ring the bell at the beginning, even though I ring the bell at the end, there's something beyond time and long and short, or any job to do. Everything's contained in there. So it's the opposite of how we usually go through life as human beings. Okay. Anything last moment? Any pressing questions? Otherwise, we will move on for today. Going once. No, we're done. Okay. So next we're going to sit a short, super short Zazen. I mean, super short, to remind us that Zen is not a matter of long and short. Some people are saying, I have to sit 30 minutes to get the effect. There's a time to sit long because actually it lets the heart settle. But if you think Zen is a matter of long and short, Zen, here's how long you should sit Zazen. Moment, moment, moment. Okay? So now we're going to have a super short Zazen, a few minutes, and a super short Kinhin. You can either go back or you can just sit where you are and just be comfortable. Okay? Where we have the verse to close the sutras, please.
May the merits of these teachings penetrate into each thing in all places, so that we and every sentient being together may realize the Buddha way. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all Bodhisattvas, Mahasattvas, Maha, Prajna, Paramita.
We will have a short kinhin. You can walk over here or take a break, so have some more tea. After that, we have an ancient Buddhist ritual that I learned from a Lama in Tibet. You know the one. Oh, I think, weren't you here? You were here last time, right? No? No? Oh, well, anyway. It's hokey pokey time. Now, as I explained, excuse me, Stuart, in Sanskrit, it's known as the hokey pokey. I believe in Pali, it's the hokey koki. You're from the UK? Which part of the?
East Coast.
Oh, you can't tell by the accent. My family's in Leicester. I'm all from the Midlands. But anyway, so you would say hokey cokey, I believe. Do you know the basic idea? Right hand in, right hand out. You know. Okay, it's an ancient dance that is from Tibet, but also performed at many Jewish weddings and other such events, in which it says, put your right foot in, put your right foot in, put your right foot in, shake it all about, do the hokey pokey. Okay. Now, you know Little Richard, the American rock and roll? Okay, he's a 1950s rock guy. He's wild, Little Richard. Today's version is Little Richard, which kind of was a mistake because it's the hottest day of the year, and this is the fastest hokey pokey I've ever heard. So please, nobody spin out of control today. All right, let's keep it. You guys at home too, okay? With all your vertigo and all the other things going wrong with you guys, let's keep it real. Okay, it's hokey pokey time. You do the hokey pokey. You do the hokey pokey. That's what it's all about. You put your love in it, you put your love in it, you put your love in it, and you shake yourself about it. You do your hokey pokey, you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Do the hokey pokey. Put your right foot in, put your right foot in, and you turn it all about. You do the hokey pokey, and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. You put the left foot in, you put your left foot out, put your left foot in, and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey, and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Happy idea. Here's the dance called the hokey pokey. We get into the school. You do the hokey pokey. Put your hand, put your hand, put your hand, and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. You put your backside in, you put your backside out, you put your backside in. Just do it backside. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. You put your whole side in, you put your whole side in, and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. You do the hokey pokey. You do the hokey pokey. You do the hokey pokey. That's what it's all about. Do the hokey. Do the hokey. Do the hokey. You do the hokey pokey. You do the hokey pokey. That's what it's all about. You do the hokey pokey. You do the hokey pokey. You do the hokey pokey. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. That's also why I have to pick one of the longest hokey pokeys. Thank you. All right. Zazenaki! Why are you guys having such a good time? This is serious. Serious stuff here. Watch your slippers. Neat slippers. You don't use it. That's cool. Have your head done? Have your head? will have a long inhale. That's 15 minutes. Doing okay? Doing okay, actually? And the second piece is very comfortable. we will now recite the metaverses, followed by a little tiny bit more. You can stand. You guys have been standing for this. Daniela likes to stand, but please sit. It's hot. You know, you can make yourself comfortable, okay? It's been a long day. I was very tempted to just put on my bathing suit and come back here. You don't know how close I came. Okay. All right. I was spying on you in the house, you know, to see. I thought I walked out, but I'm going to check. I've seen who was actually still walking. You guys did good. That's the one thing about our system. I can spy on you from the house. But really, it's like you don't have to stand. It's very long. I'm not standing. All right. Well, we recite the metaverses, which since we have a couple first timer here, you know the metaverses, Stuart? Yeah. It was a South Asian tradition more than a Zen tradition, but it's certainly, the feeling is certainly found all through Buddhism, including Japanese Zen. But sometimes it became popular in the West to do this because sometimes Japanese Zen can be a little hard in summer, a little macho. Macho, that's it. You know that word? Macho. Never heard that? Macho. Macho. Hey, Mexico, macho. Right? Muy macho.
Okay,
of course. Yeah. Yeah. So to soften it up a little, to bring a little of the compassion side, this became popular. Now, you know, Jundo, as I often say, I'm really down to earth. So some people say, do you believe in the power of this? That you're actually, you know, somehow your power is traveling across the world to bring peace to someone. And I say, yes, because in very practical way. For example, before we were having fun, right? There was a very light mood here. And for a second, I slammed it and very angrily I said, Zazen! Right? And you could feel the chemistry of the room change because I brought a touch of anger. When we bring anger, it's a real power that affects ourselves, our own heart, but also the people around us and even strangers in our town. And look at what happened in America yesterday, where one guy's anger has changed so many people's lives. And there's another shooting, you know, in the States. 2 shootings, actually, many shootings. And on the internet here, my words are going to Australia, they're going to North America here, so there's a power, you know. The one thing I always have to explain is we do chant at one point for people who do bad and ugliness in this world. And I'm going to chant for the 2 fellows who did those shootings yesterday. Because the reason we chant for them to have peace and to them to be content and happy is with the feeling that if they were, or if they had been traveling back in time, or someone like them knew contentment, they wouldn't do this. So we wish them to know peace so they wouldn't do or have done anger, you see. So that's how we chant for difficult people in our lives or in the world. Okay? We begin with ourselves. May I be free of suffering. May I feel safe and still. And this is a visualization exercise. So really, you know, if you can summarize, pretend you're an actor on stage and you need to feel safe and still. Feel it. May I be free of enmity. May I be loving, grateful, and kind. Hallelujah. May I be healthy. And because I won't be healthy always, at ease in all my ills. May I be at peace, embracing all conditions of life, even the ones I don't like, especially the ones I don't like. Now, someone we love. Think of someone you're close to, you have strong emotions about. a relative, the person you live with. Okay. May she be free of suffering. May she feel safe and still. May she be free of enmity, especially towards me. So I'm chanting for my wife. May she be loving, grateful, and kind. May she be healthy and at ease in all her ills. May she be at peace, embracing all conditions of life. Okay. Now for someone who's just a friend. As people ask you, can you chant for more than one person? Yeah, there's no limit here. There's more than enough to go around. You can chant for a whole football stadium of people. May he be free of suffering. May he feel safe and still. May he be free of enmity. May he be loving, grateful, and kind. May he be healthy and at ease in all his ills. May he be at peace, embracing all conditions of life. I just noticed I got the microphone way over there. You guys can hear? Okay. Okay. All right. Next, for a stranger, someone maybe we passed on the street or in a train station. If you can remember, maybe you don't even remember who it is, but some vague impression of someone you passed. Okay. May he be free of suffering. Really feel it. May he feel safe and still. I'm going to chant for the little, I told you here, the little roly-poly bugs. They come into our zendo to give it their last moments. That one I think is at the end. I'm going to chant for you, little guy. May you be free of enmity. Do roly-polies feel enmity? I don't think so. May you be free of enmity. May you be loving, grateful, and kind. May you be healthy and at ease in all your ills. Maybe you just need to be turned over. Let me see. What is that? Does that help you? May you be at peace, embracing all conditions of life. Doesn't seem like it. Little roly-poly's having trouble finding its feet here. Let's see. There you go. Here's another shot. Every time I touch it, it rolls into a little ball, and it's got like, I guess, a 50-50 chance of even finding its feet again. Let's see what happens. All right, now the hard one. The person who's been very difficult in your life. And boy, have I heard some stories. Someone said, do I forgive the relative who sexually abused me as a child? But someone came to me. I said, well, yes and no in our way. You never forget, and you don't have to completely forgive, but part of us lets it go. And we wish this person to have known, using the grammar of the past. Any grammarians here? What is that? To have known, the past participle progressive. Past perfect, yes. We use the past perfect tense. If they had known peace and contentment and not suffered their illness, they would not have done this terrible thing. But if it's too difficult, you don't have to chant for such a person. But I'm going to chant for the two shooters in America. Okay? May they be free of suffering. May they feel safe and still, or may they, that they had known that they had been safe and still. May they be free of enmity Oh yeah, big time. May they be loving, grateful, and kind. May they be healthy, whatever disease is plaguing them that caused this, and at ease in all their ills. May they, or people like them who will do this next time, may they be at peace, embracing all conditions of life and all other people in life too. And now we chant for all sentient beings. I will include the roly-polies, right? I just finished my new book, writing a chapter this week about Zen of the future. So I will include the people of the future and the space aliens. I always want to say, when the space aliens, we encounter them, we definitely want them to be peaceful too. Yes. All right, all of us. May we be free of suffering. May we feel safe and still. May we be free of enmity. May we be loving, grateful, and kind. May we be healthy and at ease in all our ills. May we be at peace, embracing all conditions of life. Even the fact that it's such a hot day, I gotta tell you, if you wonder what I'm doing, you ever get to like this sweat right in your eyes? It's like, oh, I know you're out there somewhere. I know you're out there. Okay. Where's my bell? All right, here we go. Oh, sorry, a little zazen. Just a few minutes of zazen. You can sit. You can sit over there, have some tea. This is kind of semi-informal, but you can sit regular if you want. We're going to ring the bell. You can walk in here if you wish. We will now recite the verse of atonement and the 4 vows.
All harmful words, thoughts, and acts ever committed by me since of old, on account of beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and mind, now I atone for them all. To save all sentient beings, though beings numberless, to transform all delusions, though delusions inexhaustible, to perceive reality, though reality is boundless, to attain the enlightened way, a way not attainable, to save all sentient beings, though beings numberless, to transform all delusions, though delusions inexhaustible, to perceive reality, though reality is boundless, to attain the enlightened way, a way not attainable, save all sentient beings, though beings numberless, to transform all delusions, though delusions inexhaustible, to perceive reality, though reality is boundless, to attain the enlightened way, a way not attainable.
Fist bumps, fist bumps. Again, my thanks to our amazing technical team, Shingen, Sekishi, Shoka, Shinchi, and all the other folks who helped. Boy, this is really great. Now we got to find the 100 people to come sit with us all at the same time one day. And thank you, Stuart, for making the long drive. I'm going to go take him over to see the big Buddha in the next town. You remember that one? Giant Buddha. And Yakshi, very good. All right, see you guys later. I don't know how to turn this thing off. So will someone please turn us off? See you.